to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, all my narrators. You're now listening to the incredible Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. The Narrative Podcast endorses and promotes and also projects positive self-images of original people. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. I am your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome all my narrators. Been busy, really busy. I told you guys last week during my weekday broadcast of the Narrative Podcast, there was a slim possibility that I might not be able to do a weekday upload of the Narrative Podcast, so I wasn't able to do a weekday upload, and I feel kind of bad about that because I could have did an upload and I just should have, chose this platform over what I was doing over the weekend, and I didn't. So when faced with that decision again, I will choose this platform. Anyway, like I said, I'm not making excuses. I just letting you all know why I wasn't here this weekend to do an upload. I know it was a possibility. I wasn't going to be able to do it if I committed myself to the other thing. But from now on in, I think I'm going to commit myself entirely to this platform and not, to let nothing come in my way of that. Because this is what I prefer to do. Anyway, welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. So all my narrators is my regular my listening audience that tunes into my platform on a regular basis. So they already know what my platform is about and what type of content they will be enjoying this evening. But for those that are unaware or not up, with me and my platform, I give you a quick overview before diving into the content this evening, as I do every single evening that I do an upload of the Narrative Podcast. But before diving into the content, just allow me to just get interpersonal with you all this evening. Touch bases, tap, as the hip hop slang is, tap in with you. So, a couple days ago was the full eclipse. I think it was on the 8th. Who bought into the lunar, the eclipse of the sun? Did you, what is your religious and spiritual practice surrounding the eclipse? Do you believe in the eclipse? Do you think it was a natural phenomenon, or was it man-made this year? Or how do you feel about that? Because I've been tuning into the internet and seeing different reactions of it. And, from my perspective, a lot of people in our community kind of, while getting your money is good, but a lot of people in our community just use the internet to capitalize on everything, and by, certain people within our community, I mean, supposed to be in the conscious woke community, spookifying the eclipse to garner clicks and views. But I digress. That's just an observation that I made. Like I said, I'm just, making a little small talk before diving into the content, getting interpersonal with my listening audience, connecting with you all. So one thing I would like to say, start this thing off super positive with a warm round of applause for our sister, Miss Angel Reese. Dynamic athlete in the sport of women's college basketball, and just really revolutionizing the game, just bringing a whole lot of nuances to it, making males actually get excited to watch women's college basketball. Now, me, myself, personally, I haven't been following the stats on any sports, football, basketball, whatever, for a couple years, and I got my reasons for it. But, no shade, no hate if you're keeping up with stats and everything. But, the young ladies definitely changed the game. And she's like stirred the hornet's nest with these, I'm going to call them white delusionalists. I'm not going to call them white supremacists because there's nothing supreme about them. They're delusional people. But, all these attacks on her team have definitely been coordinated attacks. She's been dogged in the media. And then them cowards drove by the hotel where she was staying at and was yelling, just coincidentally, like days after the racist rhetoric in the newspaper, referring to her team, as dirty debutantes, and so like I said, and I think something happened in another part of the country too, with a similar situation. I believe it was in the Midwest, but she's taken all that abuse in the media, and it's kind of paid off. I hear she got like a modeling deal out of that. Heavy as the Crown or something, if I got that right. I'm at to do a little Google check a little later. But shout out to Miss Angel Reese for just, holding her head up and staying strong in these turbulent times, and not buckling under the pressure and performing at your best, even though these white delusionalists put you under all that mental duress with their taunts and cowardly attacks. And then shout out to her friend, sister named Flo J Johnson. If I'm messing her name up, my bad. But in the press conference, she lifted her up. She was, trying to get it together, and her voice was trembling, and she was trying to stay emotionally strong. But, she stepped up to the plate and put her teammate up. And, she could have easily made it about her, took the opportunity to, campaign for herself and try to, build a brand on her accomplishments that she brought to the table for the team. But she instead, pointed out that she's a great leader and, she's strong and that's who she draws her strength from. So, yeah, that's definitely worth talking about and definitely worth acknowledgments. So join me in giving a warm narrative podcast round of applause for Jay Johnson. If I keep on messing up her first name, my bad. And then also like to congratulate the brand new host of Jeopardy, our brother, LeVar Burton, the original Kunta Kinte in Alex Haley's Roots. If you're a Gen Xer, you might know him more from his character Geordi LaForge on Star Trek: The Next Generation and PBS's The Reading Rainbow. I don't know too many Gen Xers that didn't grow up that don't know the theme of Reading Rainbow. So yeah, dynamic actor. He's had some really legendary roles from the 70s all the way up until now. I think one of his most iconic roles was a role where he wasn't speaking at all, like in this 1970s Dummy, which is basically like based on the true life story of an actual deaf mute that witnessed a crime. He had to, use sign language to tell what he saw. But like I said, our brother LeVar Burton had been campaigning for that for a very long time, and I think they passed over him to give it to the actress who had the lead role on NBC's Blossom. I think her name is Mayim Bialik or something like that. I don't know, but Blossom. He lost out to Blossom originally. They originally went with her, and but they've come full circle that he should have been the first choice anyway, just from his credentials and his connection with the American people. Because Alex Trebek, he was about like in his 50s when Jeopardy first aired. I believe he was like in his early 50s, like 49, 50, when it first aired. But anyway, congratulations to that brother, and I'm looking forward to seeing the entire season of Jeopardy that he's hosts. All right, now moving right along for the Narrator podcast. Going to give you a brief overview of the Narrator podcast before diving into the content this evening. So let's start at the top. Tippy, the name, the Narrator podcast. I named my podcast the Narrator podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. So to counter that, what I want to do to counter that is design a platform where I'm playing up my people's strengths and attributes and lifting us up in a positive light instead of, always focusing the lens on negativity like the media does. So that's entirely what the Narrator podcast is all about. It's about uplifting and edifying my people, which is a perfect segue for my tagline, the Narrator podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And that's entirely what the Narrator podcast is all about. That is my mission statement. And my purpose of this podcast is to provide positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and to impress upon the listening audience to do the same, and to bring awareness of why it's important to provide positive frames of reference about our people and our culture on whatever platform that you occupy. Next bit of business, I call my target listening audience my narrators. And the purpose of me doing that has to do with the digital information age that we live in. These days, we share everything online. People post stuff on different platforms. They tell or narrate their own stories. So that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. We're living in the age where you can tell your own story, simply by posting whatever you want to post online, whether it's Facebook, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube, whether it's TikTok, whatever. You can compile all your accomplishments and all your achievements or your hobbies or your interests to, formulate an image or persona or whatever you want to feel like sharing with the world, as, who you are as an individual. And that's kind of a double-edged sword because, corporate America, they use your posts to, create product and sell it to you. But I'll dive a little bit deeper into that in just a second. I want to focus a little bit more about my philosophy of a narrator. So when I say narrator, that's what I mean to a person that, narrates or tells their own story, not to be confused with moderator, because like if you're on YouTube or like Facebook, you need moderators to regulate your channel to make sure you don't have trolls or, people causing up confusion and havoc or in saying, do things to get you like demonetized or get your channel completely, shut down or whatever. So like, that's what I mean. I mean narrator, not moderator when I'm talking about my target listening audience. So more about that now, diving in more about what I said about the media and how they use, your content. So basically what's happening is the media has basically marketed our people as degenerate people. They've done this all throughout history, even before, the internet and all that. They was doing that way back in the analog era, like with magazines and with network television, even before network television, even before radio. They was putting out just subliminal messages, how they want the rest of the world to perceive and react to our people and our culture. But these days, it's more so done for money, primarily done for money, but then also because the media is ran by a wicked entity with a wicked agenda and who is the entity that runs the media, and why are they so fixated on, portraying our people in a certain light. So the media is ran by the powers that be. Who are the powers that be? The higher echelon, elite society, aka wealthy white people. And then with this elitist mindset, they basically want to have their own little special club and exclude everybody out of it. They want it to be the face of sophistication, the face of class, the face of culture, and everything cultured. And how do they obtain their, social affluence? By basically manipulating the media to make everyone else in comparison to them seem, low in intelligence, low in social standing, low in moral fiber, basically not as good as they are, just because they're not in the same tax bracket as them. And they do it to everybody from all walks of life. They do it to other Caucasian people too. They do it to Spanish people. They do it to, whoever, Asians, everybody. But, they single our people out the most, original people, because they fear our people the most. They're aware of their history and they're aware of ours. They're aware of how they came into their financial wealth, how they acquired their systemic power. And out of all the people in the world, our people, poses a direct threat to them, a direct threat to their way of life. Because their biggest fear is that one day we'll stop fighting amongst ourselves and reclaim everything they took and everything they're currently taking from us, and do to them what they've done and are currently doing to us. But it's an ill-gotten fear, because that's not who we are as a people. And so that's the wicked agenda that the media harbors underneath just, money. It's because they're controlled by, the powers that be. And that's, the powers that be, that's the imagery that they want to go with. That's, what they want to portray us as. They want to portray us as degenerate people, as, criminals, as lowlifes, as thieves, as murderers, as, pimps, whores, gangbangers. That's how they want to portray us as, to have everyone perceive us as and react to us as. They want to have us, perceived as drug dealers and dope fiends and all that. But going back to, what I'm saying about my narrators, we're in a unique position to change the narrative simply by controlling what we post online. So you can tell your own story any way you want to tell it. So why not tell it from the perspective of positivity? It's not the end-all be-all solution, but it is a solution. So yeah, even though the media has a horrible, wicked agenda, it's supply and demand. So they've created this product of degeneracy, and they're going to keep on cranking it out and marketing it to our people as long as we keep on, passively supporting it by, our clicks and our views and our reposts online. So like I said, we can control the narrative by just posting positive content and say, hey, we like talking about positive stuff. Hey, we like, We don't like indulging into these negative stereotypes. We don't want to give it these negative stereotypes and stigmas that they place over us credence. And then slowly, they'll get with it as business people. They'll get with it. It'll be a slow process, but they'll start putting out more content that the people want. But we have to, create the urgency for, content where our women and our men is in a good, productive union, meaning it's like, at least, we're not portrayed stereotypically. We don't have stereotypical roles in the household. We're together. We're in harmony. We're not arguing. We got a good family structure. Our children, they might not be perfect, but they listen to us and they respect us. They respect themselves. They respect the community, and they give back. And we have to create it. We have to create that trend. The ultimate answer, of course, would just to build our own institutions where we're creating our own, media. But everything's a process. So let's start with just changing the narrative like that. Next order of business. On my platform, I refer to our people as original people as opposed to black. And the reason why, for two reasons, is for the historical accuracy of it and the unity. So the historical accuracy of referring to our people as original is basically to acknowledge the fact we were here thousands of years before every single person on this planet. Pretty much everything was derived or originated from us. We invented pretty much everything. A misnomer about original people that I always point out, if you listen to the Narrator podcast on a regular basis, if you don't, prepare to be shocked. Contrary to unpopular belief, this false narrative that keeps on getting spread about our people, the original man and woman of this planet, is that our history began with slavery. And while slavery was a part of our history, it did not begin with slavery. As a matter of fact, going deeper, we originally existed on every single corner of the globe. Every place you can think of, you already had a collection of our people. We didn't get to all these places via slave boats. We was already originally indigenously located in all them places. So we get lied to about how long slavery lasted. We get lied to about our direct involvement in the slave trade. That's their favorite, that's their favorite deflection weapon, is to be like, when we talk about slavery, well, Africans, they participated in the slave trade too. They had slaves. And no, we did not. We did not have slaves too. We had prisoners of war, and we had indentured servants. They was free to leave after a certain time. It wasn't no generations like that generation's born and then their kids and then their kids and their kids. It had a cutoff date. And then they was not just for hundreds of years going to that continent, getting slaves from that continent. It don't even make sense. What we had is, people that did not look like us designing, governments and coming up with systemic ways to isolate the original man and the original woman from having equal stance with people other people in that region. But I digress. And then one last point I want to make about original people is, as far as the origin of original people, is we didn't evolve from monkeys. You know, we didn't create primitive weapons and tools. We wasn't dwelling in caves. We wasn't hunched over, covered in excessive body hair. Like, that was another group of people. That wasn't us from the beginning. We was already highly advanced, fully sentient, building advanced civilizations. All we ever did is advance civilization anywhere we existed in the world. We never took away from the human experience. We only brought enlightenment. We only brought education. We only brought, spirituality and religion to the table. We never brought nothing harmful to the table as a people. We never forced our beliefs and views on other people as original people. We didn't force people to believe in what we believe in and try to punish them if they didn't share our same views. So the second point about why I refer to our people as original people, I refer to our people as original people on my platform to also bring about unity. Because as I said, we were and are the original beings of this space, this planet, for those that believe in planets, this plane for those that don't believe in planets. There's different types of us, all coming from different land masses, speaking different languages, having different religious and spiritual beliefs. But the one thing that we all have in common, the one thing that connects us together as a people, we can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. That's what we have in common as a people. We're original people. So that's why I refer to our people as original people here on my platform, the Narrator podcast. You can refer to yourself, whatever you're comfortable referring to yourself. You can call yourself Black. You can call yourself African American. You can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. But on the Narrator podcast, I refer to our people as original people. Next order of business, Narrator podcast is a positive space. I don't entertain gossip, rumors, and slander, naysaying. This space that I'm building is all about the upliftment and edification of our people. So I don't do any finger pointing, and I definitely don't try to single people out. I try to encourage upliftment and solidarity on my platform. And basically, if I ever say a famous person's name, it's not to garner clout or try to get some traction for clicks and views or whatever. This is simply my main focal point on the Narrative podcast when I'm delivering any type of social commentary, which I do on here on my platform as well, is to bring awareness that yes, we have our in-house issues. We got our things we need to work on, but here's why this happened. And then I might bring a famous person's name up or, whatever is going on in the media right now concerning our people for something directly in our community. And I dissect it from the systemic perspective. It's I approach it from they did do that. It might be true, but here's why this is true, because this person has been programmed and conditioned by, the powers that be, society, to act in this manner, to behave in this manner, to, do this. Like, while we do need to take accountability for our own actions as full-grown adults, I feel our people, like, we take on a burden that shouldn't just be solely ours. Like, the people that's had everything stolen from them, everything done to them, our go-to answer when something negative happens in our community, our go-to answer shouldn't always be like, we have to do better. The people that's had everything done to them, we got to do better. You see? So that's the perspective I always try to give my perspective from when I'm commentating on current issues and events. What else do you need to know about the Narrator podcast? I try to keep everything short and sweet. This is an all audio platform. So I want to keep my listeners engaged and attentive to the content that I'm sharing with them. And the best way to do that is to not bore them to death. So I try to keep everything fresh and, add levity and keep you entertained and keep you informed at the same time. So I try to keep my broadcast exceeding no longer than 1 hour. For my weekday episodes, I try to shoot for 45 minutes, but I'm well over that just with the intro, with my breakdown of the Narrator podcast. But that's all right. I'm going to hit that goal one day. What else? So yeah, I don't try to feed it into any negativity, any gossip. This is a positive space. It's all about upliftment and edification of our people, and prepared to have some fun, learn some stuff, and vibrate higher. So that's what the Narrator podcast is all about, sharing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, because we're constantly being bombarded with negativity all the time, like, programmed and conditioned to believe positive things don't happen within our community. So this platform isn't about trying to appeal to dominant society, caring what people outside of our culture, think about our people and our culture, or even trying to enlighten people outside of our culture about our culture. You know what I mean? It's not about seeking validation from people outside of our culture. It's just about, like, if you're going to tell our story, tell it correctly. Tell it from the perspective of who we are as a people, our real, origin, like who we really are. And who we really are kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. So if you're going to tell our story, tell it correctly. And so that's, basically what the Narrator podcast is all about, is telling our story correctly. Because if history has taught us anything, it's taught us this: you have to tell your own story, or your own story will be told for you. And the story they're telling about our people and our culture, we know, is a mofo lie, as our brother Shannon Sharp said. Like, they a mofo lie. But I digress. We finna dive into the content this evening. So I think I brought you guys up to speed. I'm well over 300 episodes in. If I glazed over anything, or if you're still kind of scratching your head about, what this is all about, you can refer to previous episodes of the Narrator podcast, wherever you get your podcast fixed from, whatever platform that you listen to podcasts. You can get, my previously recorded episodes of the Narrator podcast. Just remember that when you listen to it, to download, push the download button. So download all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator podcast to bring yourself up to speed. For all the newbies out there listening, and remember, there's thousands of podcasts called the Narrator Podcast, but make sure it's mine, because mine is the only one that actually matters, the one hosted by me, Halzie Allen, and away we go. So up first, if you did not know, I have two different formats for the Narrator podcast. I got a weekday edition and a weekend edition. And my weekday edition, I share, I stay true to the positive frames of reference mission statement by sharing news articles. And the reason why I do that is to put out the positive frame of reference that positive things happen within our community. Progression happens within our community, a sense of, structure and love and harmony. All that happens because we're constantly being bombarded with negativity from the media. So what I try to do in these sections is give you a brief reprieve from that by putting out positive frames of reference that come in the form of news articles that come across my feed. And then after I share those, I deliver commentary on something, a piece of trending news. It might be something globally. It might be something nationally. It might be something just coming out of our community. And again, the purpose of me commentating on whatever is to, just give the comment from the perspective of, how it pertains and relates to our people. So now that you're up to speed, allow me to get things rolling with the first article of the evening here on the Narrative Podcast. First article of the evening, the headline reads, I'm on the wrong page, guys. The headline reads, Meet Dr. Q, the youngest black man to own a dental studio. His full name is Dr. Qdorius Q. Tony. And what sets him apart from other orthodontists or people in that profession is that he is the youngest to ever own their own dental studio. So if anybody, is educated or up on, dentistry, how that usually goes is they go to school, they get their degree, they study, about oral hygiene, and then they kind of like doctors do, go to somebody else's studio that's been in the dental profession for years, and they work there for a couple years until they're able to pay off their student loans, and then they stay there, or they go on and then create their own practice. But this young brother took a chance on himself and said, right after he got out of orthodontist school or whatever school that's called, I'm gonna open up my own. And I'm gonna just do a quick sidebar. Oral hygiene is very important because if you don't have proper oral hygiene, then you're not going to have proper overall body hygiene, because there's a lot of, bacteria in the mouth. And if you're not taking good care of your teeth, infection can set in and cause all kinds of problems in the body. If you want to know more about his work in the community, I'll tell you the second thing that he's notable for. He's also notable for his commitment to community service. He wants to educate people about the importance of oral hygiene. In our neighborhoods, a lot of our neighborhoods, good oral hygiene isn't practiced, or the proper things you need to keep your keep your mouth fresh and hygienic is not provided in our community, and that is not by design. That's absolutely how that's structured. Because when you go to commercial chains like Family Dollar and General Dollar, and even like bigger ones like Walmart, Supercenter, you put them in our neighborhoods, you will notice there's not a whole lot of healthy foods. Speaking on the oral hygiene aisle, you're not going to see a lot to select from. So no like organic stuff, all natural stuff. You're going to see, the highly processed, the fluoride, the things that's going to cause inflammation. And so it's not by design at all. It's a system behind that. But anyway, his dedication to his community by educating people about oral hygiene comes in the form of, a club that he started. It's called the Fresh Breath Club, and the Oral Fresh Breath Club, excuse me. Dang, I keep on messing it up. I'm sorry, y'all. Dr. Q's Fresh Breath Club. And to know more about it, go to Dr. Q's freshbreathclub.com or email him directly at drqsfresh@gmail.com. And let's give it up for our brother, Dr. Q. So this next article is kind of a heartbreaker. And then I want to point out, a lot of these are longer, way longer than, I'm reading over. I'm just taking, they come across my feed, when I come across these articles, I just, I screenshot it, then I read it a couple of times, and I take bulleted points for the most important, things of the article. And the reason why I do that is to try to, keep the time limit that I set for myself, kind of stay within my 1 hour mark, because if I went into intricate detail with every single article that I came across, one article would just delivering commentary on one article could be as lengthy as 10 minutes. So to condense the time, I just take the bulleted notes. But anyway, on to the next article here on the Narrator Podcast. The headline reads, Woman purchases Texas property from racist mob that drove her family decades ago. And the sister's name is Opal Lee. And she's about, I think it says she was like 77 at the time. She's probably much older than that if she's still alive. Because this was a while ago. No, 77 because it was this March. So she basically, she is an activist. She's done all kind of work in the community since the late 40s. Basically, when she was living in Fort Worth, Texas, she got drove by her away from her home by an angry mob of white people that didn't want her and her family living in that town. And so at, her age, she wanted to go back to the community where she was driven from and live out the remainder of her days. It's so sad because, one, I don't understand why she would want to go back to a place that she wasn't welcome in the first place. Because even though, probably every single person that participated in that is probably no longer living, the spirit is still looming around that section of Fort Worth. So even though she has the financial means to go back, she's still kind of setting herself up to that spirit, that energy is still there. It's still fresh. Like, we still have racism everywhere, in every part of the globe, especially here in America. It's ripe, even though people don't like openly discussing, they're addressing it, their preconceived notions about other people out loud because they're ashamed of themselves, and they need to be ashamed of themselves. But it's here, that ugly hate is still here, and I'm sad that she wants to go back, but I got mixed emotions because I'm sad she wants to go back, but then I'm happy that she can go back, that she has, defied the odds and, rose above the level of whatever these people saw her as is like never going to amount to anything in life. She proved them wrong. But the article goes on to say she broke ground in March for the new estates in Fort Worth, and it should be ready for her to move in this June. So if I know more, I'll try to stay up to date with the story on if her house ever gets built and will she get to enjoy it. But until the meantime, let's give our sister Oprah Lee a warm narrative podcast round of applause. Okay, last article this evening. I usually have almost 5 to 6 articles, but not that there's nothing positive happening out there in the world. These are the ones just kind of caught my attention this week. Everything else was just kind of mild, so I just picked the ones that were the best I felt. And, took some bulleted notes on them. So this is the last article for this evening, and I'll do a dive into my content this evening, or my commentary this evening, excuse me. Last article, the headline reads, Black-owned school created by HBCU grad launches new curriculum teaching generational wealth. And the brother's name is Ruby Sunshine Taylor, a former Virginia Union University grad, HBCU, of course. So what he's done is created a free platform that teaches financial literacy. The mission statement is to educate people on how to build and sustain generational wealth, pass the wealth all throughout generations, start launch businesses, and how to set up, trust and, all that type of stuff. Things like that'll be here long after they're gone. How to acquire equity and all that, and how to levy credit. Those are the types of things he'll be touching on in that course. So his mission statement is just basically to get his participants to sign a pledge. And the pledge is the initiative. What it's called is, so the pledge and the name of the program is called We Build Generational Wealth. And so after they sign that, they get a free course with 52 weeks worth of content and the opportunity to receive monetary prizes ranging from $50 to $200 simply by staying true to the pledge. And which is the pledge basically also is just like teach people within your family and teach people within your community about generational wealth. And if you would like to know more about the brother's program, you can go to joyschool.com, and you should see his whole entire curriculum and his mission statement and everything that he has to offer, the tools and the source material that he's offering for participants to learn and apply generational wealth. So let's give it up to our brother, Mr. Ruby Sunshine Taylor. All right, that's it and that's all. That's all the articles I have for this evening here on the Narrator podcast. So now we're going to dive in to my commentary. In my commentary section, I usually refer to it as my speaking point of the day. Sometimes I have one topic. Sometimes I have multiple topics that I touch on. But tonight it's just specifically one, and I feel it needed to be addressed. So recently, Netflix has launched an animated reboot of a 1970s sitcom called Good Times. Now, it got really bad reviews just based upon the trailer. Got a whole lot of backlash based upon the trailer. And so what I'll be discussing tonight is the backlash justified, and I'll also be talking about it from the perspective of, how we're inappropriately and ineffectively using the media, like we're adding to the problem rather than solving the problem in most cases. So I'll be unpacking it from that perspective. So, first of all, Good Times. What you need to know about Good Times, you have to know about the original live action version of Good Times, how that culminated. So it was a Norman Lear produced sitcom, and Norman Lear produced a lot of television in the 1970s. And like most producers, he realized there was a lot of equity involved, a lot of, lucrative possibilities for money, a lot of revenue if he produced shows depicting our people. Now, he started out noticing the trend when he would just have token original people in predominantly shows about white people. And so for example, how Good Times even came about. Good Times was centered around the main character, or a side character on a show he created called Maude. And so he wanted to take the character Esther Rolle played on Maude, which starred B. Arthur as Maude. He wanted to take her out of that continuity and give her her own storyline. And so, he did it. And he took her out of being a white woman's maid to putting her into the backdrop of being a single working mother in the slums of Chicago, Illinois, West Side, I believe. I believe the Good Times was based on the West Side. But, it said it wasn't Norman Lear's, brainchild. It actually came from a guy named Eric Monty. And he produced a script. He wrote the script for Good Times based on how he grew up in his experience in the Caprizi projects in Chicago, the housing projects. But that's how Good Times, the series, came into fruition. Now, Good Times, the series, we have to thank our sister, our matriarch, R.I.P. Esther Rolle, because it would not have happened if Norman Lear didn't meet her one demand. And her one demand is, to give her a husband, because originally they wanted to make her a single mother on welfare, raising 3 children. So you're going to give me a husband, and that's how we got our first look at the black family structure on television, because before that, we didn't see a whole lot of films and television shows depicting the black family structure. We didn't see a whole lot of people, that looked like us, that had, husbands, women that had husbands, were married, had, children that worked, you know what I mean? It just wasn't a lot of that beforehand. But, Good Times was definitely before my time. It had been off the air for at least over a decade. When I started watching it at like 10 or 11 years old, or remember watching it. So if I was watching it at 4 or 5, of course I don't remember those episodes. I couldn't relate to them. So I couldn't actually start like relating and understanding the jokes and the dialogue until like 11 or 12. But even then, you know, it was very stereotypical. Even then, it was very insulting. They insulting us right in our face with all these negative stereotypes and stigmas. They got the Evans family, the two males. They got them living in poverty in the projects. They got the two males in the, I think they only had a 2-bedroom apartment. So 2 male childs sharing a fold out in the living room. They sleeping on a fold out couch in the living room. Mom and dad got their own room. Female child has her own room. So reading in between the lines, before the younger brother came along, it was probably like, you know, the male child and the female child sharing the room at one point in time. But yeah, it was very stereotypical. You had a whole lot of stereotypical tropes. They perpetuated a whole lot of negative stereotypes within our community on Good Times. It was so bad that, you know, the two, the mom, the mother, and the father, the two actors that played the mother and the father, Esther Rolle and former NFL player John Amos, who played the father, James Evans. Esther Rolle was Florida Evans. They both left the show in protest. So John left first, and to compensate that, instead of just getting somebody else to play John, John's character, they just killed him off. And when Esther Rolle left, she basically abandoned her household. She went and got another apartment, was like working, like driving buses on, but still paying rent over there. And basically it was like the eldest children still having that 2-bedroom apartment. Then the oldest one, he moves out, and they end up giving Thelma a husband, and like with a guy who played football, move him in there into the 2-bedroom house, you see? And they just kept on setting them up in scenarios where they couldn't ever break even. Like they was always doing bad. They was down bad for like 4 or 5 seasons. The characters, Jimmy Walker's character, JJ, was just buffoonish to the 10th power. And that's what a lot of the fallout was about. Why John Amos left, because he didn't like how buffoonish they made the character JJ every single episode. He gave him a catchphrase, dynamite, and they try to insert that in every episode and just, make him over the top, unbearable with the stereotypes. Then they had Ralph Carter's Michael. Michael, a character that made him on the first season, a revolutionary. He's an activist, and they slowly started changing his character. They start making him more or less intelligent. Then one episode, he had a episode he can't even read, but in season 1 he was a revolutionary, and then Also, to that, he ends up, got a one episode where he's dating a white woman, a white girl, like is his love interest. So they just slowly made it more and more stereotypical all throughout the years. I'm not going to bash it too hardly because, they did have some empowering episodes where they tackled some things happening within our community. They had an episode about, high blood pressure. James had high blood pressure. They had an episode about that. Before he left the show, they also had an episode of where his character reunited with his estranged father. He came back to, ended up coming back in his life. They tackled gangs on that show, gangs of Chicago. They attacked drug addiction on the show. Multiple times. I had one episode where Jimmy Walker's character was dating and was about to marry. She was a drug addict and almost OD'd. So they tackled, some social issues on Good Times. It wasn't just all bad on Good Times. So they did do some positive stuff on Good Times, but all in all, it was like really insulting television to our people. Janet Dubois was also on here, the late R.I.P. Janet Dubois, who was an activist in life, social activist. She actually wrote the theme song sung the theme song. I don't know if she wrote it for Good Times, but then she also did, I know she wrote and sung the theme songs to The Jeffersons, which was another Norman Lear produced television show, which was a spinoff of, Sherman Hemsley's character, George Jefferson, from a show called All in the Family. His brief interactions with, his white neighborhood, who was very racist. I believe his name was Carol O'Connor, was Archie Bunker, and it was like their interactions and like while he was on the All in the Family, before he got the spinoff, like every other episode, he would call, Archie Bunker a jive honky. And so that was a TV first. So that was kind of empowering for our people, but not really either, because that perpetuated the negative stereotype. We have to leave our neighborhoods, to chase after the air quotes, the American dream. It was even in that theme song, moving on up to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Like, we can't take pride in our neighborhoods. We can't just stay where we're at and still be financially wealthy and just move to a bigger house or just buy the house we're renting and add additions onto it. We ought to go move up to the apartment in the sky. You know what I mean? So it's all psychological programming and conditioning. Psychological programming and conditioning in Good Times is like, you can't make it out. Even though, Janet Dubois sung the theme song, when you break the lyrics down, I don't know all the words, but like some trigger words is standing in the child line, good times, scratching and surviving, good times. Ain't you lucky we got 'em? Well, what's good about that? What the hell is good about that? What the hell is good about just getting by every single week? You see, we sitting up there listening to that. They made it catchy and groovy. You can like pop your fingers to it. But it's like embedding into your psyche, you see? That's the original Good Times. And now they want to, Netflix, they want to do a reboot. And then the reboot is actually a reimagining because it's not about, because like when you heard Good Times, which what was assumed was it's going to be the 24 version of, you know, the original characters of the 1970s. But what it is like the descendants, like the, you know, their grandchildren or whatever from the original series. That's what the new series on Netflix is all about. But the same premise, the same legacy of the buffoonery from the live action version exists in the animated version. And this is just people reacting off the trailer. I haven't seen an episode yet, so I'm reacting from the trailer too. But all the content creators on, you know, all over the internet, they're reacting negatively towards this little 1 minute clip of what's presented to us for Good Times. This is like, I'm kind of glad that it happened because this is like a perfect example of why I'm doing what I'm doing on this podcast. This is how we're perceived outside of our culture. That is the stencil that producers like that are giving about our people. They're like sitting over here in the writing room, you know, do the character, say it like that. They want them to say it as stereotypical as they can possibly make it. You know, throw some jive in it, man. Yeah. Oh, like this, you know what I mean? So it's like all these tropes. They got a drug dealing baby, and they just perpetuating all these negative stereotypes and stigmas. The only difference between the original one and the reboot is like we done as a people, like the people that's lending their voice to this new project, they all have writing credits. But I don't know the Hollywood process, but it's like all the people lending their voice has writing credits. Them as actors that they didn't feel like, you know, when they was just reading it, they just looking at it, it's like a gig. I'm happy to be working. They wasn't in the back of their mind like, this is some bullshit. You know what I mean? I try not to curse on my platform, but sometimes I got to. It's like, because, you know, it's very insulting. That type of humor is very insulting, and it's produced by, this reboot is produced by Seth MacFarlane, who is no stranger to offensive humor, racially offensive humor. Like, he's like the captain of that, Family Guy, American Dad, and it's like, you know, you really want to sit up here and take a cartoon seriously. And so that's the deflection mechanism. Like, oh, well, you got the free time to sit up there and be, you know, offended over an animated cartoon. I mean, his body of work, he had a white actor voice a black character and then gave that character a spinoff and loaded that series up with even more stereotypes about our people. And it's like, Another deflection is like, well, you can watch, well, all them years of Simpsons was on. Y'all done sit up there and watch Simpsons. Y'all done watched Family Guy and, all them other animated cartoons with racial humor. But y'all sat up there and found time to laugh at all that. And then on the one hand, it's like, dang, that is kind of true. So why are you offended at an all-black cast? Why are you offended? Why you feel slighted when we do it? And the answer is because we've never not been the butt of the joke. Since this country was formed here in America, just speaking for us here in America, we've never not been the butt of the joke. There hasn't been a single time in this country's existence where we wasn't the butt of the joke. We still have things on Amazon that you can go on Amazon and see products with, the stereotypical black face with the pale lips. All the cartoons, Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny. They all used to back in the day have racial jokes about our people. Flintstones, like you name a cartoon, there have been some type of racial slur or racial joke about us. In some instances, comedy is comedy. Our people, we do some funny stuff. And some of them stereotypes is true, especially about watermelon and fried chicken. Because, I eat my watermelon in private because I would embarrass our ancestors if I went out in public. I go down all the way to the rind, eat the seeds and all. I'm a dog with that watermelon. And back when I used to eat meat, my go-to meal was fried chicken. I would buy two fryers if I could and cut them up into 8 pieces. 2 fryers. I wouldn't eat, of course, in one setting, but, throughout the week, deep fry that fried chicken. Legs. If I couldn't buy the 2 fryers, I would get, some drums, some wings, and probably a breast because I didn't really like breast meat. Or some quarters and some wings and cut them up in when I wanted some fried chicken, whip that. But some stuff, we have some funny nuances within our culture, like the Crown Royal bag. We know what that means. There's a viral clip circulating around on the internet right now. Where am I at? And it's like a plate of fried chicken, a can of soda, some string beans, and one of the ones know that most likely you're probably at a repast. And within our culture, we the only ones that say repast. Everybody else would be like a funeral or a wake. So we have some funny things about our culture that's just hilarious. So, you should never take life so seriously where you can't laugh at yourself. But then also, everything ain't funny all the time. Everything's not a joke all the time. And so I got mixed feelings about, the Good Times reboot getting the backlash. Because on the one hand, A lot of the content creators, they rush to judgment before even seeing one episode. They're just judging it on just the trailer. That's on one perspective. But the other perspective, I'm kind of glad to see our people uniting and demonstrating we are offended about something. Because if we unite and let people know we're offended by something, they'll be less likely to create things that offend us. And as a people, we kind of just we quietly don't say nothing, but let it be reversed. Let us say something offensive that another group finds offensive. They not only want to correct us and force an apology, they want to try to enlighten us and, tell us why they found that offensive. And the two biggest communities that do that to our people is the tiny hat community. You can't even say them on the internet. Can't even say that, the name of the community on the internet, or you will get canceled. And then the other community is the elemental P community. You can't say nothing, because then you're a what-a-phobe, and you're intolerant of what people that live the alternative lifestyle. But anybody from any group of people, they can all have a field day when it comes to laughing and making light of our people, joking and grape soda and fried chicken and watermelon. They can say that all day and nothing to happen. Or when we do say that it was a joke, I apologize. They already got their little fake apology typed up, and on to the next thing. But whereas one of our comedians offends one of somebody else's community, then it's they get their whole catalog banned. They get this special pulled, that special pulled. Oh yeah, and then you got to pay a fine to whatever group that you offended with your joke. Then you might not even be able to tour or do any material for that whole year to teach you a lesson about your offensive humor to the certain group. But yet people can just make fun of our culture, insult our intelligence, say something without saying it, demean us, demoralize, devalue us, and, there's no consequences. So, the reboot of the Netflix's Good Times, I'm going to say some of the hate was justified, because within that 1 minute clip, they went and found the most offensive, derogatory stereotypes they can possibly jam in that 1 minute clip. They've jammed it in there. And that's supposed to be our introduction to entice us to want to go see it. You're trying to entice me to go see a drug dealing baby. You're trying to entice me into, seeing women be degraded, and you're trying to entice me with malt liquor and grape soda. Now here's with the negative side of it, the internet. I think a lot of these content creators was fake offended, because that's something we tend to do in our community. We tend to wave ride. So I think a whole lot of people, content creators, didn't even see the 30-minute clip they just decide to go on YouTube or TikTok and bash Good Times without even seeing the clip, let alone a full episode. And that's something we need, as a people, need to stop doing too. You know, experience it for yourself, think what you want to think, support it if you want to support it. But, you know, be aware of what you're supporting, be aware of the overall message. You know, are they laughing with us or are they laughing at us? So, you know, you can make your own decision. You can do your own due diligence on the Good Times animated series. You know, far as I'm concerned, I haven't actually seen an episode, but just judging off the clip, it's just like, you know, they playing with us in our face again. So no disrespect to all the voice actors. Talented ensemble cast. Got Jay Farrell, got Slink Johnson, JB Smooth, Wanda Sykes. So they got some top tier talent on it as far as the voice acting goes, but just the whole premise behind it is some bull. So, like, in all of them, like I said, all of them, you know, got writing credit. So if they can come to the table and, you know, think of some scripts that's not demoralizing us and devaluing us, you know, I might be inclined to watch an episode. You know, in my opinion, they should probably have on the writing team, they should probably have like Jasmine Guy. When she, you know, she was writing on Different World, you know, what she wrote for Different World was impeccable. Kadeem Hardison, I think he can balance the levity because he's, you know, he's a Brooklyn native. So he knows about the streets. He can balance that world, you know, make it humorous, but not make it insulting to our intelligence. Another person I feel might do a good job on the writing side of it, maybe potentially Debbie Allen. She might do a good job writing. Maybe even somebody like who could do a really good job with that? Maybe Erica Alexander. She could probably do something with that. But as far as just what they're presenting to us, it's a hot mess. It's super messy. And, you know, it's some bull. Because Seth MacFarlane, he already don't got a good reputation as far as, you know, how our people is portrayed in, you know, television that he produces anyway. But that's really kind of all I want to touch on this evening, and my thoughts on the Good Times. Like, if you want to support it, you can go support it. The little that I've seen, I'm not impressed with. You know, most of the hate that it garnered, the backlash was justified. A lot of it wasn't, because like I said, a whole lot of people didn't even see the clip. Didn't even like legit see the clip. They just want to produce some content because, you know, it was like monitoring the YouTube, or, you know, it was trying to capitalize on the clip or whatever, however it go. But yeah, I'm kind of glad it sparked the conversation, And we definitely need to keep the conversation going about buffooning in all media outlets, in animated, movies, in television, in live action, sitcoms, and movies, and really just start creating our own institutions, our own spaces. Then it's like, where we have that unspoken connection. We don't even got to explain the joke. We already know. But when you veer off and you have to, Negro explain yourself to certain audiences, it's just it's too much. Got a Negroid explain yourself to Caucasoid audiences. It's too much. But, that's just my little spiel on it. Take it how you want to take it. I'm definitely not attacking any of the voice actors. They're tremendous, impeccable. If I left out any voice actor, it's just because, I didn't put you down in the notes. Yeah. That's just my final thoughts on, the reboot of The Good Times. And I'm going to put a pin in it here. So join me this weekend for another full episode of the Narrator Podcast. I'm going to try not to make a liar out of myself this weekend. Like I said, I'm going to get a better job at fully committing to what I'm trying to build here and stop letting other little side distractions, just fully commit to this. Like I said, I broadcast 2 times a week. I try to broadcast 2 times a week, once during the weekday, once during the weekend. And how the weekday episodes differ from the weekend is basically the weekend episode is longer because I have more sections. In addition, it's basically the same format with slight variations. On my weekend edition, I have a spotlight section, or a highlight section, a spotlight section, a health and wellness section, and I close out with the final thought of the day, a wise word of wisdom. But essentially, they're both pretty much the same style, just with that slight variation is just a tad bit longer with more sections. But like I said, I try to broadcast 2 times during the week, once during the weekday, once during the weekend. So just keep your ears to the the podcastosphere. And remember to download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your podcast fix from. The best way to keep up with brand new Narrative Podcast episodes is to follow me and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Halsey Allen on YouTube. So, subscribe to my YouTube channel, click the notification button, notification all, as well as my X account, formerly known as Twitter, because the platform that I'm on broadcasts to YouTube and X simultaneously. So right when I upload the episode, it goes right to X and it goes right to YouTube. But it's also available on all the other, podcast platforms, all the big ones, Apple, Google, iHeart, all of them, whatever. But yeah, just remember to download the episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast. So when you see the link, click on the link, and then you should see a little downward arrow that says download. So click that, And then also, it's a little comment box. You can write me a little note in the comment box, and then you can click the little heart to like it. But the biggest thing you can help me out with is the download. Click the download button, the little downward arrow. And then you can share them, of course. And then it's like another little side arrow where you can share it on other platforms. You know what I'm talking about, the little 3-circle thing. You can share it on different platforms. So yeah, that's how you can participate in the Narrator podcast experience. Also, I've written a book titled The Black Card. The Black Card is available on Poetizer.com. Poetizer.com has their own bookstore. It's a platform for poets, writers, people that write short stories, people that like to write. And what they have is a feature that takes anything you post on there and, for a fee, you can take and convert it into an actual book. You can pick which pieces you want to be converted into, a book style format. And that's what I've done with the Black Card. Is basically like, a collection of my poetry. Not just on there though, but I got, just some fresh ones I made up just for that project. But definitely go over to Poetizer.com's bookstore and look for my book title, The Black Card. The Black Card is a 30-page book of poetry that encompasses, our essence as a people, like, everything we experience and go through as a people, positive and negative, is just a really reflective look at, our people and our culture. So it's basically like a survival card. So go to Poetizer.com and purchase the Black Card today, or get your Black Card revoked. It'll make a good coffee table read, a gift, a chillax book, but definitely a good read. So just do yourself a hugest favor and go cop that today. The Black Card, written by me, Halsey Allen, available on Poetizer.com on the Poetizer bookstore. Next order of business, I have a poetry blog as well. It's on blogger.com, and the name of my poetry blog is called Hallzies Poetry Corner. And what that is just a collection of poems that I spontaneously write in the moment. How intricate each poem is, you would think that I drafted it before I posted it on the blog, but that's just, not what I did. I legit just, the first thought that pops up into my mind, I just start typing, whether I'm on my device or whether I'm in front of a desktop or a laptop or whatever. It's just kinetic energy. I'm not thinking about the content, the title, what I'm going to call the poem, the subject matter of the poem. It's just it's just how it comes out. So the unique thing about my poetry blog is you're guaranteed to find a poem that you can relate to. It's relatable poetry, and you will love it. So go check that out. Hallzies Poetry Corner on blogger.com at www.mrhallziesblogs.com. And the way you can support that is either share the link to Hallzies Poetry Corner or a poem featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms, like whatever you're active on, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, whatever. Just post a link or a poem featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner on your platform, on whatever platform you're active on. Like for like TikTok or YouTube, stuff like that, you probably would actually have to like, verbally say something where you're in front of the camera. You probably would have to like verbally say, go check out Hallzies Poetry Corner at www.mrhallzieblog.com. And I especially like this poem, say the name of the poem or whatever, however it go. But they also got a feature where you can click on the link and you can write me a little comment on a piece that you like, and then you can share it, too. But the biggest thing to help me out with the blog, the poetry blog, is to share them on all platforms. So whatever you do, however you choose to support, make sure you're, sharing Hallzies Poetry Corner, either the link to it or a poem featured on it. And that'll do it for this episode of the Narrative Podcast. Thank you guys so kindly for supporting me as you've been supporting me. I appreciate you. I love you. The content's only going to get better. We can do this together, family. We can change the narrative. Speaking of change the narrative, I'm Hallzie Allen, and I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. I'm asking you to help join my crusade in changing the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time, as a narrator, you can help me change the narrative by changing the narrative one social media post at a time. Until next time, Hallzie Allen and the Narrative Podcast signing off, and it's like that.
Listening to the Narrative Podcast with Hallzie Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.